Okay, pal, you want smash mouth power and efficiency? Then here's your starting lineup. Ford F-Series, #1 for 37 years straight. Talk about a dynasty, baby. Hey, it's game time, sports fans, at the Bill Ford Tough Sales Event.
Good evening from Legends Country Club in Stephenville, Texas, where we'll be for the next hour with food specials, door prizes, and, of course, surrounded by some of the best Tarleton football fans around. Make sure you send your questions to Coach Fowler later in the show during our Ask the Coach segment. You can just tweet those questions to @TarletonSports, #FowlerShow. Again, that's @TarletonSports, #FowlerShow. Coach, they didn't find our human remains in Blackwater, and you got to win.
And we got to win, yeah.
That's a successful trip.
But I'm glad you admitted that somebody said they saw that guy on that horse.
Yeah, somebody did say they saw a masked man running around out. Strange things happen in Blackwater Draw. Tarleton won't have to go there again.
That's what they say.
Of course, you win 6 games in a row. That's 6 games Tarleton has won in a row in Blackwater Draw, so maybe that's a bad thing.
Well, we'll just say Portales area.
Yeah,
right.
That's right. Near Clovis, Portales, Blackwater Draw. Coach, a 17-point win over Eastern New Mexico, a quality win against a good team on the road.
A really good team. You know, we just got through watching the film, Casey, and, you know, we made a lot of plays, and, you know, we played well at times, you know, and then we didn't play so well at times. And, you know, and you got to sit back and look at that. You know, where we struggled is, you know, they got the ball, and when you're playing an option team, you don't. I told our offensive coach, I said, don't worry about time of possession if we're scoring. All right, and we started out scoring because it puts them in a situation that, you know, that they've got to get out of but they never left what they did. They kept running their offense, but they got the ball at midfield 7 times, you know. And you get the ball at midfield 7 times running the option, where now you are able to throw the ball and be able to run the option, and that happened to us there in the second half. And in the kicking game, that's our coverage teams is what let us down. You know, we got the kickoff return for a touchdown that sparked them, and then our punt coverage team wasn't very good. You know, every time we punted it, they got the ball on our side of the field, and that's where our scores came from. And then you got to come out and fight. But the thing we did do is we played really good quarter 1, quarter 2. We went to sleep third quarter. And then we came back offensively and defensively and played really well in the fourth quarter.
Let's listen to the plays of the game from the 17-point road win, including Clifton Rhodes III, record-setting 189th career reception.
Back in the shotgun formation, Colin Strahan, a full wide receiver set. He's going to keep it up the gut. 50, 40, 35, make it to 20. At the 10, is Colin Strahan going to take it all the way to the house? Yes, he is. 49 yards on the first play of the game. Strahan in the shotgun, full wide receiver set. Bircher to his left, throws it across the middle of the field. In the end zone, it is Clifton Rhodes III, the senior out of Fort Worth Southwest High School, with his 4th receiving touchdown of the season, and Tarleton on top, 13-0. The shotgun formation. Running back is Zach Henshaw. It's going to be a fake to Henshaw, and a keeper. Strahan 20, 30, 40, near midfield at the 40 in Greyhound territory. The 30, 20. Strahan is faster than a Greyhound, and he's in the end zone. Can you believe this? I can't believe it. Wow. 89 yards. The tailback for Tarleton is Jabari Anderson. They're going to hand it off to Anderson. Around the left edge, 30, 40, 50, into Greyhound territory at the 30, 20, 10. This is crazy. Tarleton is up 27-7. On to punt at his own 42-yard line. It is Mitchell Cox back deep. Bubba Tandy. Tandy fills it at the 9. Up the near sideline. Makes 1-man miss. 2-man miss. He'll cut upfield at the 15. Room to run 20. 1 man to beat at the 30. He's on his feet at the 40. Near midfield. Bubba Tandy cuts upfield 50. Still on his feet. 45, 40. You got to be kidding me. Bubba Tandy all the way to the 28-yard line. That right there is why Bubba Tandy was the 5A Player of the Year in Kentucky. What a play. First down and 10. Ball spotted at the 11-yard line in Eastern New Mexico territory. Strahan in the gun. Twins out to the far sideline. They're going to throw it in the end zone. It is caught for a touchdown. I believe that is Nardi Myers. And Myers with his 3rd receiving touchdown of the season. And Tarleton up 37-7. Just what the doctor ordered. Second down and 2 for the Texans. From their own 43-yard line, they lead 38-14. Strahan in the gun. The protection is great. Clifton Rhodes with the catch. And ladies and gentlemen, 189 career receptions for Clifton Rhodes III. And he now holds a Tarleton state record for most career receptions. Congratulations to Clifton Rhodes. Hey, that's what Kerry Fowler said last week. There's blood in the water. You got to act like a shark. Let's see if Tarleton can act like a great white here. from the middle of the field. Pistol formation, and H-back is Trent. Make it Trent Gow. They're going to throw a back corner fade. Nardi Myers catches it for 6 points. It's a Tarleton Texan touchdown. From the right hash, full wide receiver set. Strahan's going to throw it deep. Down the far sideline, and it's caught for a touchdown. It was pass interference, but it doesn't matter. Hello, Nardi Myers. But that's going to do it. The final score, the Texans of Tarleton State University 59 and the Greyhounds of Eastern New Mexico 42. Tarleton wins here at Blackwater Draw on their final trip to this historic facility for the 6th consecutive time. A 17-point win for Tarleton. They're now 3-3 overall and 3-2 in the Lone Star Conference.
Strahan is faster than a Greyhound, by the way.
He is very fast.
At least on that play. I mean, talk about that, Coach. I mean, third drive of the game, first play of that drive, taking it 89 yards.
Yeah, and we knew they got lined up in a certain way when we lined up in our empty formation, and we bring you get Zach coming across, and it looked like our jet sweep, and then the way they expanded, our offensive coaches did a great job of game planning that, and was able to get out both of the runs that he had. We knew that there were some things that Colin was going to be able to have in the run game, and because they were so dominant in the run game coming into, and they were going to hone in and stop our tailback, and if we were going to run the ball, especially early, that Colin had to get really involved in the game, that they had to honor us
sure.
in that aspect of it.
They're only allowing 55 rushing yards per game coming into this one. Through their first 6 games, they only allowed one team to rush for over 100. Coach, you finished with 277 rushing yards. You told me last week you'd stick to the game plan, and you did just that.
Yeah, and that was, Colin can do so many things with the football. And when we're able to run with him, and then our backs are making then all of a sudden Jabari comes out and goes 77 yards, It's just amazing of, when you hit the big plays now, who do you stop? The tailback, the quarterback in the run, and then we got we come off we can throw our pop passes and our bubbles and different things like that that'll make them honest in the run game. And we executed at first. Hadn't seen us. We really executed well. That's the first time I've seen us execute all phases of our run game, and then that opened up the passing game for us for the rest of the night.
At the half, you lead 38-7, and it's always important to get ahead of an option team. I know this is not a traditional option team because they can throw the ball, but still, that's a heck of a lead for the kind of offense they run.
It is, and and at halftime, I was probably coaching harder than I was because I know, how hard they're going to play, and those guys came out, and I knew they were going, and I think our guys kind of, all of a sudden you go 80-14, and now you're up 37-7 or 38-7, whatever it was then. I was afraid of them taking a breath. Okay, we're pretty good. And then all of a sudden reality slapped us pretty quick that we couldn't get anything going offensively and then and defensively. And then they hit the kickoff on us, and then and we woke up there in the fourth quarter, and I was proud of the way we finished, but especially against their offense. I mean, they're one of the top offenses in the country, and you don't see option teams that average over 200 yards passing, and they're going to be able to do that. And I tell you this, the next 2 weeks is going to be whoever's playing them is going to be dangerous. 88 came back; he'd been hurt, and I told you that before the game. Yep. And a 6'5", 225-pound wide receiver in the option, he can block. He's a matchup nightmare. 81, the best receiver they had was hurt. He got hurt at McMurray.
Yeah, I noticed he didn't play.
I talked to Josh yesterday. And he said that he will be back, so they're going to have both of those wide receivers with a quarterback, and that fullback is unbelievable.
And 88 is Aaron Johnson. I want to talk to you a little bit about that because in the third quarter, Eastern scored 28 points, and on one of those plays, DeAndre Locke jumps a route trying to get a pick six. Instead, Johnson takes it to the house. Are you okay with a player taking a gamble like that?
Nope.
You're not.
We come off the field. I said, Andre Locke, what did I tell you in the pregame? You told me don't undercut any route. That's what happens. They go 77 yards when you undercut the route.
He did kind of redeem himself, though, in the fourth quarter, did he not?
Yeah, he did. And the kid made a great touchdown catch on the corner route that is scored right after we threw the interception. And he made a comeback route. And for a big kid to come out of a break like that and make that catch, I mean, that was impressive. The only thing I could say then was, hey, look here, man, they give scholarships too.
Yeah, they sure do. Going back to the second quarter of that Texas A&M Kingsville game, folks, if you don't listen to anything, listen to this. From the second quarter of Texas A&M Kingsville to the first quarter of Eastern New Mexico, Tarleton scored touchdowns on 13 consecutive offensive possessions. That's really unheard of.
That's unheard of. Yeah, let's try to do it again.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe you can
again
start that trend at McMurray. And we'll talk a little bit about the Warhawks later in the show. Coach, 4 school records were broken. And I feel sorry for the guys on my broadcast team. I've got a spotter up there who turns into a historical stat assistant because he's got the media guide open. And, I mean, records are breaking left and right. 6 against Kingsville. You break 4 in this one. And looking at those records you broke, Strahan had the most total yards for a Tarleton player. Clifton Rhodes the third, of course, 189 career receptions. The 89-yard run, largest run in school history. Total yardage, 663. When you look at those, pretty unbelievable. I want to ask you about a couple of them. Colin Strahan, one player accounts for 543 yards and 7 touchdowns.
Wow. I mean
what a performance.
He played unbelievable. You know, he's getting the ball out of his hands. You know, and we made some changes offensively the last couple of weeks where we're giving him a chance, and he's not getting hit in the pocket as much. I think he got sacked one time the other night. The week before, Zed got sacked. It wasn't Colin. And he's starting to feel comfortable throwing the ball. He's able, you know, and now he's running the football well. He's getting out of bounds when he's supposed to, and you know, he's really, really performing at a high level. And you know, he's fun to. I've said that since day one. He's a fun guy to watch. I can go back to the spring games and seeing him dominate, and whenever he was going to get his chance, and now he's starting to get comfortable and getting in a rhythm, and he's playing at a really, really high level for us.
Nardi Myers had 6 catches for 124 yards. 4 of those catches were in the end zone. He becomes the 4th player in Tarleton history to have 4 touchdowns in one game. What's been the difference in Nardi's play as of late? Because he's really picked it up.
Well, we've got the ball to him. You know, we're not. You know, we're getting Nardi likes to match up outside and catch the vertical ball, and we're starting to get that ball to him. And you know, early in the year they were kind of working him underneath. Now he's getting vertical, and Nardi loves that route, and he's catching the underneath routes too. But we got him and Bubba. You know, I think Bubba had a couple catches there.
Bubba had 98 yards
on 2 catches. You know, the things that Bubba did that the other night, he had the kickoff, the punt return,
64-yarder, yep.
And then he had, but he caught the ball 2 times or 3 times on the punt that if he hadn't have fielded that ball, it would have ran down inside the 5-yard line.
That's right.
Which was
in
unbelievable.
the same spot both times.
And he didn't fair catch him, so they called him a return. So in the actual, you know, when he touched the ball basically 3 times for almost 150 yards.
Coach, we hadn't talked hardly at all about your defense, but they did create 2 turnovers in this game that were proved to be costly for Eastern in the second half.
We did. It was a chess match. You know, we gave up the. We played really well there in the first half, and we played well in the short field. And then, we gave up a couple of those scores late there or in the third quarter that we got in the short field, and then they went 85. That fullback wore on us now.
Elon Spide, he's a heck of a player.
He wore on us. I mean, the one touchdown run, Casey, came through. He never got more than 2 feet off the ground. I mean, he was running full speed. Alex Anderson and Mark Martinez, you had 240 pounds and 230 pounds. They came in full speed and hit him, and he split them. And he's a powerful human being, and he's as good a fullback as I see. But we talked about that going into it.
Yeah, he had almost 200 yards in this game.
Yeah, and he was, and they established him. What we did good is we didn't let the option get us on the perimeter. You know, and that's where they get the big plays. You know, and of course they did a great job of blocking scheme. They were bringing both backs in motion, looked like option, and they were blocking the edge, and they were working him off. You know, like a hand sweep, and I'd never seen that play before.
We talked about this being the last time Tarleton will play in Blackwater Draw. They're going to be building an $8 million stadium next to Greyhound Arena in Portales on campus. You might want to delay that construction project because you've never lost the Blackwater Draw.
I haven't.
Midwestern Art, Tarleton.
I haven't.
You might want to go over there and see if you can knock that referendum or take some of that money out of the pot or something.
Back it up.
With the 59-42 win over Eastern New Mexico on Saturday, the Tarleton Texans improved to 3-3 overall and 3-2 in the Lone Star Conference. When we return in 1 minute on the Coach Kerry Fowler Radio Show, it's time for our Lone Star Conference Spotlight. This is the Tarleton Sports Network, presented by the North Texas Ford Dealers. Welcome back to Legends Country Club in Stephenville, Texas. I'm Casey Hogan alongside the 5th-year head football coach of the Tarleton Texans, Kerry Fowler. We're going to be here until 7 o'clock. We've got food specials, door prizes, and much more later in the half hour. Also, we're going to have our Ask the Coach segment. If you want to ask Coach Fowler a question live, go find Nathan Burrell, and he's got a microphone, and don't be shy. We're always nice when answering questions, even if it's a dumb question. No, I'm just kidding. There's no dumb questions.
How about Les Miles?
Yeah, we're not going to do that. So we have our Ask the Coach segment. You can send us a question through Twitter if you're listening, at Tarleton Sports, #Fowler Show. So if you're listening, at Tarleton Sports, hashtag Fowler Show. Tweet us a question, and we'll do that later in the show. Time for our Lone Star Conference segment, and what a weekend it was in the Lone Star Conference, Coach. 4 games. You had Texas A&M Commerce defeating West Texas A&M in Commerce 48-21 as the Lions clinched their first Lone Star Conference title since 1990. Were you surprised to see? I thought that game might be a little closer.
It was early. They just kind of, they kind of fell apart. They threw some interceptions, and they faked a field goal for a touchdown and a kickoff. They scored in a lot of different ways. It was like 14-9, and then they blew it open and it got the momentum, and that was the end of it. And they've got great players, and when they get rolling, they're pretty good, and they put points on the board fast.
Second game around the conference, Angelo State 58, Texas A&M Kingsville 31. Now, David Callaway was relieved of his head coaching duties last Monday. Interim head coach Jaime Martinez, they took a 10-0 lead, so it looks like they kind of came out early and played really tough for Coach Martinez. But you've been in that position, right, as an interim head coach. How tough is that?
It's real tough. That happened to me at Midwestern, and and that's you got to try to get your kids back, and it's more. Trying to explain to them the situation and comfort them than in the game plan as much. And sometimes they relax and you just go back and do the basics. They come out and they play a lot better. A lot of times we mess the players up because we try to overcoach them, and that's probably one of the cases. But they for them to score 31 points and they turned the ball over a couple times and that's how I got lopsided. But they played well.
Tarleton and Eastern New Mexico, of course, your Texans over the Greyhounds 59-42. And the final game around the Lone Star Conference, Midwestern State 71, McMurray 13. And Midwestern State, Coach, didn't even have their top 4 running backs. Jake Glover only played 11 plays, and they still win 71-13.
Yeah,
Impressive.
Jake Glover got hurt. And
did he?
There in the first quarter, because watching that film, he got hurt in the first quarter on a pretty bad hit on his leg on the sideline, and the freshman kid.
Must have done pretty good, huh?
Yep, he did pretty good. Yeah.
So it's Midwestern over McMurray 71-13. The updated standings in the Lone Star Conference, Texas A&M Commerce 5-0. They have clinched at least a share of the Lone Star Conference, and at this point they're the definite front runners. They'd have to lose. They at least get a share. But when you look after that, Coach, the race wide open for the number 2 seed.
Bracket, 1 or 4, you're going to have to play. You got to play your way through it, and if you get that top 4, I'd like to see some guys for the second time.
Especially the way you're playing right now.
And that's the whole thing. We're just taking one game at a time. But if we can get in that, I keep talking to our kids. Your business each week, because I want to show. I want you guys to show how good you really can be.
There's 4 teams in third place, and again, McMurray is in 6th in the make it 7th in the Lone Star Conference. They're at 1-4. I skipped 6th place, and in the bottom of the conference, Texas A&M Kingsville in 8th place at 0-5. And basically, we know this: if you can beat McMurray, the bottom 2 seeds are set at 7 and 8. Mm-hmm. I don't think that really provides. Because you don't want to be in that part of the bracket.
You got to win the rest of them. And when you look at. So anything can happen over the next 2 weeks.
If you're a Tarleton fan, are you almost rooting for Texas A&M Commerce this weekend as they take on Midwestern? Because wouldn't it help if Commerce won and Midwestern lost?
Nah,
doesn't matter.
I didn't.
Typical coach, he's not going to give me anything to work with here. So hey,
I just want in.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well, how about that game? That's got to be the game of the week in the conference. Commerce going to Wichita Falls. And, of course, Midwestern got the win last week. Commerce played really well against West Texas. That should be a pretty good game.
It'll be a game. They'll be ready. They do a great job defensively at Midwestern. And they've got to be able to shut those receivers down. And it's going to be a question: is that quarterback going to play?
Yeah.
Jake Glover's a big kid that can run and throw, and it depends. He's still got a young quarterback there that hadn't played a bunch. And if Jake plays, they'll have a chance. And it all, kind of see how that young kid performs. But that's got to be the game of the week.
Yeah, one of 4 games. The game of the week, again, Texas A&M Commerce at Midwestern. You've got Tarleton playing in the early game, a 2 o'clock kickoff for the first time this year. That is Tarleton State at McMurray. We'll talk about that in our 4th segment. We've got Texas A&M Kingsville at West Texas A&M, and the Buffaloes, that's a game that they're going to really want to come back and win at home.
They will be. They'll be hungry.
They'll be real hungry after that loss. And, of course, Kingsville playing a little bit better, so watch out for that one. And then you've got Eastern New Mexico at Angelo State, a 7 o'clock kickoff. 2 pretty evenly matched teams. That should be a nice one as well.
Yes, it will. There's 2 great teams going at it. And, the thing you can't ever do is you can't ever count Eastern New Mexico out. Last year Angelo had them down 28-0 at halftime, and they came back and beat them 29-28. I was trying to tell my kids that at halftime,
Is that the game that sparked the 5-game run?
It was, right after we played them. And then they were down big to West Texas and came back. So, you've got to be prepared to play the Greyhounds for 60 minutes.
One thing is, and you looked at some of the adjustments that Jocelyn and his staff made at halftime of our game, they're going to have their guys ready.
They were, and they made a lot of adjustments. They made defensive adjustments. They made special team adjustments. Because when you see the film, you see the adjustments. And we knew what they were doing in the game, but you're trying to adjust your kids from something they haven't seen, and it took us to the to the 4th quarter to figure some of them out.
By the way, I haven't even looked at the AFCA Top 25 poll. Tarleton's not in it, so I don't pay much attention to it. And it looks like Northwest Missouri lost a game. Mm-hmm. They're now 6-1.
Yeah, Pitt State beat them, and they beat them soundly. I think
really?
35-14, something like that.
Is that the game played in Arrowhead? Mm-hmm. That's a big game, yeah. Northwest, and that's one of those games you never know who's going to win that one. Rivalry game. So Minnesota State, Mankato is now the number 1 ranked team.
And I'll tell you, the frustrating end, and I'll give you, I'm on that committee that votes every Sunday night. Our conference doesn't get any respect. And that's what I said last week. I'd like to see these guys come down and play this schedule, week in, week out. I voted Commerce number 5 in the country because they got 1 loss to a 1AA Stephen F. Austin team who's in the top 25 of the 1AA poll.
And they've beaten teams handily.
And they're 22 in the country.
And it's funny. My next question was I was going to ask you, is Commerce in the conference being slighted because they beat West Texas 48-21 and they only go from 23 to 22? Just doesn't seem right.
It's like they write our conference off, but we've got 1 team in the last 2 years and they won the region and got to the regional final. We got a great league, and a lot of these guys. Just like I was looking at the one league that we play against out of the Great Lakes League. They got 11 teams in that conference that have losing records, and only 4 teams that have winning records, and they'll get 2 or 3 teams in. But when you're playing 11 teams on your schedule with a losing record, those top 4 teams are going to get up there. Yeah. You got to play every week in the Lone Star Conference.
It's a disadvantage, and the playoff system is going to make it even worse. At the end of the day, because good teams are going to be playing good teams again. That's our Lone Star Conference and National Spotlight. We'll take a 1-minute break here on the Coach Kerry Fowler Radio Show. When we return, we'll talk Tarleton Texan basketball. As Associate Head Coach Chris Reisman will join the broadcast. This is the Tarleton Sports Network, presented by the North Texas Ford Dealers. And welcome back to the Coach Kerry Fowler Radio Show, live from the lobby of the Lookout Bar. I say the lobby. I'm so used to being in lobbies. We're live from the Lookout Bar and Grill here at Legends Country Club, and want to thank our entire live audience for being here as we do each week. And we've got some Tarleton athletic T-shirts to give away and a Tarleton Parents Association gift basket. So if you hear your name, please come up and see Susan Burton to my left and your right. Virginia Abel, thank you for being here, Virginia. Lee Smith, Lee, come on down. Give him a hand, Lee. We got Lee Smith and the TSU Plowboys here today. We appreciate the Plowboys being here as always. David Garza. David, come on down. And Travis Livingston. So congratulations to Travis, David, Virginia, and Lee. And we will give away more gifts later in the show. So make sure you stay tuned. If you're listening, you still got 34 minutes of the show. You can come here to Legends Country Club. Want to welcome for our Tarleton Athletic Spotlight a man who's in his 16th year as a assistant coach at Tarleton. Is that right? No, 12th. I'm sorry. 12th year as an assistant coach, 16th year to be a part of the program, 8th year as the associate head coach. Folks, in his 16 years with the program, the men's basketball program, the Tarleton Texans, 366 wins and 124 losses. Let's give Chris Reisman a hand.
Awesome.
Coach, welcome.
I'm getting old.
Yeah, I was going to say, sometimes I feel like I'm getting old, especially in my back in these chairs. I'm just like, golly, you're not supposed to feel like this at 30. Yeah, that is a long time. So. Wow. Coach, Midnight Madness Tuesday night. You kick off the 2014-15 season. What did you think about the atmosphere at Wisdom Gym?
Oh, it was great, and it's always great, Casey. And it seems like the community just does a phenomenal job continuing to support every year. The student body does a great job coming out. I always tell my guys, Midnight Mass is the Christmas morning of the basketball season. I mean, it's you get a chance, you wake up, you're excited. A lot of our new players have never seen or experienced that sort of atmosphere. They've only heard about it, and that's the hardest night of study hall ever because they come in. We're supposed to do study hall from 7 to 9, and about 8 o'clock I can just tell they're twitching. They can't think about anything. So we bring them in. We let them go a little bit early. And what's crazy this year is we got out of study hall like 8:30, 8:45, and there's people already lined up at the doors that open up at 11:15.
It's crazy, wasn't it?
And so you don't find that anywhere really. I mean, it's
maybe
unbelievable.
Maybe in Kentucky or doing.
Yeah, I mean at a major Division I university, and so it's special. Tarleton's special. We recruit the kids. We tell them that, and it's always so great to see that come to fruition, and our guys get to enjoy that.
Yeah, I went out to the front of the gym thinking there's going to be nobody out here, and there's about 100 kids sitting Indian style at 8:30. I thought, this is good. And I was a big Tarleton basketball fan when I was in school, but I don't know if I was that big of a Tarleton basketball fan.
And what's even more impressive, it's the week following homecoming. So these kids, I mean, they're probably exhausted. I mean, there's something every night during homecoming week, and it's always great when you can have Midnight Madness. Sometimes it lands in homecoming week, and so it's part of the festivities. But for it to be a separate week, the week right after, and still have that sort of turnout, it's just phenomenal. And so we're excited and blessed to have that type of support, and we're looking forward to the season coming up.
I know you're not counting, but you're 17 days away from the season opener in Fort Worth against Texas Christian University. Have you been pleased? And we're going to talk about TCU next, but in practice thus far, have you been pleased with what you've seen?
There's been times I've been pleased. There's been times I've been like, man, we have a lot of work to do. This is one of those teams where it's confusing because we have 10 returning lettermen. I think a lot of people are like, man, this is a rebuilding year. And in some aspects you can say that, but you can also look at it this way. We have 10 returning lettermen. Yep. We have 4 players that average double-figure minutes. We returned 3 of our top 5 scorers from last year. And so we have a great nucleus coming back, but we have a lot of players now that are going to have different roles. And that's always the hardest thing is we got some returners coming back that are going to have to step up for us and have bigger roles this year, and so they're going to have to learn their new roles. And then you have new players coming in that have come from a place where they've probably been the best player on their team, maybe the best player in their league. And now they're having to adjust and learn a new system, a new terminology, and how can they help us. And so you see in practice right now, you can always judge effort right now, and you can judge how quickly people are absorbing the teaching. But it's also when you put them all out there 5-on-5 right now, some days it's rough. And I get frustrated because I'm a guy that, I want things to look smooth. And Coach Reisman tells me today, what do you expect? It's a 6-day of practice. And it is. It's our 6th day of practice. Last year was a little smoother because we had 4 returning starters, and we had 5 returning of our 6 guards. And so it's a process. And that's the great thing about the game is that every year is different, and, every team is different, and you got to approach it different. And so we're working hard. We have a long way to go, but we're getting better day by day.
I always love when it's basketball season starts because Coach Reisman will come from practice, and I'll say, how was it? He'll go, terrible. We're not going to win a game this year. We're not going to win a game. I'm going to say, Coach, you're averaging like 24 wins per season. You're not going to win a game. We're not going to win a game. But I guess that's just old school, mentality.
That's old school, and that's Coach speak. But, I mean, you especially early in the year and in practice, we try to make our practices to where they're much tougher than games. I mean, our practices are difficult. They're competitive. They're intense. And sometimes there's not a lot of opportunity for success. We want our guys to taste failure. We want them to taste adversity. So when the game comes along, that's the fun part. And so we make our practices very competitive in that mindset. And there's days when we don't look good. And I mean, we judge practice off the effort, but we don't look smooth. And I think that's natural for any coach sometimes to feel like that. And the other thing is, I don't think you ever want to come out of practice and say, hey, we look great, because you're just setting yourself up for failure.
No
you're jinxing yourself.
So I get called to the gym last week, and I know if Coach Reisman calls me during practice to the gym, it's usually not good. He says the exhibition against TCU has been moved from November 7th, a Friday night, to November 6th, a Thursday night, which I think probably for us is probably a good thing. Okay. But talk a little bit about any reason, why that happened?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I talked to Coach Tift, who's one of the assistant coaches there, and I've known him for a while. And what happened was they're renovating Daniel Meyer Coliseum right now. They're not going to play any of their home games in their home facility the first semester, maybe the entire year. And so what they've done is they've got a contract with Wilkerson Grimes Activity Center, which is where a lot of the Fort Worth ISD high schools play. And they're going to play all of their home games and their exhibition games there. Well, whenever they signed this contract, there was already a pre-existing game going on, so there was a conflict that Friday night. And so it was one of those deals where, well, do you want to play? And, yeah, we want to play. We want to have an opportunity to showcase, Tarleton State against a great team like TCU, and they're going to be very good. Make no mistake about it. I mean, this is a team that's going to return. They return like 4 starters, and their best big man was hurt last year and on a red shirt, and he'll be back. And
it's
so
a Big 12.
It's a Big 12, and Coach Johnson has a great staff. So it'll be exciting to have that visibility for the university and also to go against that level of competition.
So, folks, Thursday, November 6th at Wilkerson Grimes Coliseum. That's actually closer to Stephenville,
right.
So it'll be easier for us to get there. Admission is going to be free, so you don't even have to pay for a ticket. You can see Tarleton play Texas Christian University Thursday, November 6th, 7 o'clock tip-off. We'll have that broadcast, if you can't make it, right here on the Tarleton Sports Network. Coach, back to the roster. You talked about the returners, 10 of them. You got 8 newcomers,
yep.
4 of them true freshmen. What are some of the faces that you've seen that have impressed you thus far?
Well, a couple of the guys that have really shown great capability. E.J. Reed at LIU Brooklyn, you're talking about a guy that led his team in scoring and rebounding at the Division I level. Has played at places like Indiana and had 17 in Indiana. He's a guy that has a great motor. He has a great feel. He's kind of a complement between Tayshawn Mabry and Devin Carter. He's very athletic, but he's also very skilled. He can shoot the three, he can put the ball on the floor. And I think if as he continues to learn and pick up how we do things and really gets his mind to accept the way that we do things offensively and defensively, he can be a very good player in our league. Tevin Jones from the University of Virginia started a lot of games as a freshman. I think he scored like 14 versus North Texas, 11 Old Dominion, a very talented player. Last year they were unbelievably good. As everybody knows, Virginia was a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament, had some McDonald's All-Americans. His role went as a sophomore diminished quite significantly, and so
he's a good dancer, though.
Very good
you
dancer.
You can see him on ESPN.
Very
dancing.
good dancer, but he's a very good player. Let's be honest. You don't go to the ACC and not be able to play basketball. It's not like they just missed on him. He just wanted to go somewhere where he could play, and we got very lucky and got in on him early, and he liked the program, liked what Coach Reisman has done with players, and he's really getting better. I think he came in a little rusty, and now we're really starting to be impressed with what he can do. And we have 2 junior college players that are very good, potentially. Malcolm Hamilton out of Moberly, who was a first-team All-Region player, averaged 16 points a game, and he's a big guard. That's one thing that we really lacked last year was size on the wing. He's 6'4", 200, very athletic. Robert Lee was an All-Region performer out of Ellsworth. He's an Austin kid originally, but super athletic, averaged 20 points a game last year. Had a game where he had 43 at the JUCO level, and so can really put up points. And our freshman class, I'm excited about. We got some sleepers. We got some guys that I think were overlooked that could be Division I players, and they're only going to be better as they get older. But Noseb Wanye and Deshaun Riddick are 2 that I'm really happy.
Wanye, you said it better than I did.
Well, I don't know. We call him Nosa.
I'm going to stick to Nosa on the radio.
He's an engineering major, and he's very smart. He reminds me a lot of Wally Agunye, but at the guard position. And Charles Bogard, and I'm excited about those new kids, and they're working hard right now, and I think their future is going to be bright.
Coach, almost out of time, just a few seconds. The past 5 years at Wisdom Gym, your program 79 wins and 6 losses. What do you expect the atmosphere to be like for the home opener on November 14th?
I think it'll be great, Casey. I think that Tarleton's always come out and supported us, and as long as we've come out and won and played hard, they've always came back, and we're excited about it. So we think we have a very tough schedule this year. It's hard to get games, obviously, when you're coming off a 28-3 year. But we're excited. You're going to see a lot of in-region opponents. You're going to see some very good teams come to Wisdom Gym this year. I think even much better than last year. And so it's an exciting time, and we're really going to rely on that support early this year because we do have a lot of new faces. And I think if people can get out there for that Texas Tip-Off Classic weekend, November 14th and 15th, you're going to see some good basketball, and you'll get a chance to really see quick, how these new faces are going to mesh in our program.
Folks, we don't have enough time to talk about everything related to Tarleton basketball, but the schedule and the bios are up online at tarletonsports.com, so make sure you visit the men's basketball page there. And there's also information on the trip to Las Vegas that we've been talking about a lot on the radio. Coach, thanks for your time. Look forward to another fun season.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That's Associate Head Coach Chris Reisman when we return in 1 minute on the Coach Kerry Fowler Radio Show. It's time for our Ask the Coach segment. This is the Tarleton Sports Network, presented by the North Texas Ford Dealers. Coach, before we get to our Ask the Coach segment, I want to talk to you a little bit about this offense. We talked about 13 consecutive touchdowns. You've had 139 points, 1,300 total yards, 19 touchdowns in 2 games. And I know I keep asking, and I know that obviously the execution's been better, but there's got to be something else behind this, isn't there?
Yeah, we're just getting the ball out of the quarterback's hands faster. That's the whole key. That it's all it's a quick game. It makes the DBs come up, all right, and then us being able to run the football. They try to now they got to come in and defend the box, and then you throw the quicks. They've got to come up, and then you're able to go over the top. And the big thing, Casey, is this: we go the early part of the year, and we dropped a lot of balls. You haven't seen a lot of balls dropped in the last few weeks, and And but just getting the ball, and Colin is getting comfortable. That's one of the keys is he's getting comfortable in the system, and he's getting in a rhythm. And he's getting the ball in the playmaker's hands, and then he keeps it in his hands because he's a playmaker too. So, it's just we're getting comfortable. We're just trying to get the ball in good players' hands quickly.
One area you've been spectacular in this year is not turning the ball over. Only 7 turnovers in 6 games. That is 5th in the nation. You've only lost 1 fumble. That leads the nation. What do you credit that to?
Kid, discipline. Every time, every day coaches are on them all the time. Tuck it away, trying to get it out. I mean, that's a constant thing. And then Colin's done a great job of protecting the football when he throws it. I think he's got 3 interceptions off those attempts. I mean,
yeah, he's protecting the ball very well. There's no doubt about that. And the running backs, I mean, as often as you run the ball, to only have 1 fumble.
1 fumble, yeah.
Bubba Tandy had only returned 3 punts on the year. Actually, he's only returned 3 punts on the year, and all 3 were in this past game. And I was kind of talking during the broadcast, why aren't we seeing more Bubba Tandy on punt returns? And I'm guessing because of his health.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. The punt, catching the punt is so difficult. Bubba went through 2 days with a broken hand. He had a cast on all of camp. He got a cast off just before we played the first game. Trying to catch that punt, I mean, that's the hardest thing in football is catching a punt. And, we were looking for those guys. It's not a mystery that Bubba can return punts. Bubba holds a state record in the state of Kentucky for 4 in 1 game. It's just getting him comfortable, and then they would catch it, and then you get, you get a little shaky, when you haven't done it all the time. And I just put him back there last week and said, let's go, and you'll see him back there again this week. He's back in the rhythm, and he felt comfortable catching them. He didn't feel comfortable, until he started, catching a bunch of.
And it's always easy as a broadcaster to say, "Why aren't you doing this?" And then I started to think after I said it. I said, "Well, Bubba's been hurt pretty much the whole time he's been at Tarleton."
Missed all the spring with the knee surgery, and then when we got him back, he broke his hand. So, he goes a whole year, and hasn't caught the punts.
Time for our Ask the Coach segment. Remember, each week you can send us questions through Twitter at Tarleton Sports, #Fowler Show, at Tarleton Sports, #Fowler Show. I want to welcome Kelton Weens to the broadcast. Kelton, we've got a question from the TSU Plowboys.
We sure do. Coach, great win on Saturday, by the way.
Thank you.
Coach, we got a question from Lee for the Plowboys.
How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing good, Lee. How are you?
So what other goals do you want to accomplish for the last few weeks of the season?
The biggest thing is getting in this playoff in the top 4, because that's it's almost like March for us now. It's almost like March Madness, but the playoff starts every week. If we can get in that top 4 and the way we're playing, and if we continue to play as well as we have, we've played. We had a couple breakdowns in the kicking game and a couple breakdowns here, but we've played well offensively, defensively in the kicking game the last 2 weeks. And if we can get in that tournament, I like to see the way we're playing right now. I like to see some rematches happen, because I like the way we're playing right now. And if we can get in there, anything can happen.
Hey, Lee, thanks for the question. We appreciate the Plowboys being here, as always, each week. We've got 2 Twitter questions. 3. All right, we're going to have to be quick.
First one, I'm curious about this myself, Coach. Are we going to stick with the white helmets?
Yeah, well, there's a cover that goes on there. They're wearing off a little bit, so – they'll probably, we may go through them one more week, and our equipment staff put those on. Hal Mummy is the one who invented that, a Tarleton grad, and it's called Game Day Skins, and you're seeing a lot of people across the country wear those. And I tell you what, I've got more compliments on the white helmet, and talked about that last week. Since 1999, they hadn't had white helmets, and that might be something that we look at going back to here.
You're 2-0 in them, so I might keep them white as long as I can. Next Twitter question.
The next one, really the key for Strahan or any quarterback is keeping them upright. Who on the offensive line has really stepped up the last 2 weeks?
All of them. We played really well up front, And the one thing about it is if you're throwing the ball down the field a lot of times, Colin is not the biggest guy in the world. And, when you start 5-step drop and the throwing lanes close on him, he doesn't see very well. And, that was one thing that we had to look at. But, Lucas Love is playing unbelievable. Probably the best guy right now that is probably – and I see it, working on the defense. I think Nick Perez is playing better than anybody in the conference. One guy I wanted to talk to you guys about is Will McClain.
Yes.
Will McClain played tight end for us, broke his foot, had to sit out a year. Played tight end because his dad passed away, and that was his dad's last request. He was an all-state center. He had to sit out last year with hurt. He had to sit out in the spring. He graduated. He came back, and he started the last 2 games. Just played unbelievable. And what that kid has done and how he's grown up as a man, he's got a college degree. I'm really, really proud of him, and he's playing at a high level.
Final Twitter question, gentlemen.
Coach, there have been a number of great wide receivers that have played at Tarleton over the years, but Clifton Rhodes III already has a record, and he's probably going to get some more. What separates him from the other wide receivers that could have played here?
Yeah, it's a different offense that they're playing in. Because see, I've defended Devin Gwynn, and I coached when Devin Gwynn was here. Devin Gwynn was an unbelievable football player, and he didn't get the touches, and we didn't throw it even half as much as what they did. Then what makes Cliff a great player is he just works his butt off every day. He comes to practice, he plays hard all the time. He plays hard in the special teams. Does it with a smile on his face. I mean, he just works hard, and he's had a lot of guys that have mentored him around that when they worked here, he's seen that, and he's just ever since day one he's worked his butt off, and he's a product of hard work.
You want to hear something strange? So he breaks Harlan Wunsch's record, 44-year-old record. Harlan Wunsch, who's in the Tarleton Athletic Hall of Fame. I checked my mailbox this morning, and guess who joined the T Club?
Wow.
Harlan Wunsch.
We need to break more records.
So I said, we're going to call Harlan tomorrow, and kind of we might even have Clifton call Harlan and just say, hey, because that's a big deal. Yeah. When you break a 44-year-old school record, and he's 71 yards away from breaking D. Gwynn's record, so he could go down as the greatest wide receiver in Tarleton history.
He will. And he's close to the touchdowns too. So he's just and I'm proud of him. I'm so proud. He's going to graduate. I can't. I know his mom and dad are thrilled. They can't wait to December to see that child graduate, and that was their main goal. And I get more compliments on him from professors across campus. He's a great young man.
That's our Ask the Coach segment. Remember, each week you can send us questions at Tarleton Sports, #Fowler Show. We'll take a 1-minute break. When we return, we'll hear from McMurray first-year head coach Lance Henson as Coach and I break down game number 7 of the 2014 regular season when the Coach Kerry Fowler radio show continues right after this. Welcome back to the Coach Kerry Fowler radio show. Let's take a listen to McMurray head coach Lance Henson. I will tell you, this was at the Lone Star Conference Media Day back in July, so it's been a few months, but here's Coach Henson on the Tarleton Texans.
I do have experience, though, with Tarleton. I remember years ago, whenever I did live in Texas, going to a Tarleton game back then. Did see film of a few of their games last year. I know how well coached they are. I do know about their coaching staff. Sounds like a tough team this year. Phenomenal. Look at the record, and what he has returning. There's so many players that got tons of experience that is returning back. That says a lot about a coach, the retention that he keeps and stuff like that. Guys sticking with the program, believing in the program. That's why you're picked first in the Lone Star Conference, because of what you got returning.
That was the first-year head coach of the Warhawks, Lance Henson, back in July at the Lone Star Conference Media Day. Coach, the Warhawks 2-4 overall. Your take on the job Coach Henson's done?
Well, he's done a good job. But he had some players, and Coach Miller's here as the head coach there last year, and was there with Coach Mummy all those years. They did a good job of keeping some of the players in. They got 2 of the best receivers in the league, and but they were the tops in the league a year ago, and one of them was the leading receiver in the state of Texas, and they're doing a good job of getting them the ball. They took they moved the quarterback was a wide receiver a year ago, and he knows to get the ball into those kids' hands, and they've got 2 good backs. Defensively, they play hard. He didn't have any other scholarships, and he took that situation having to play in the Lone Star Conference, but he does have some playmakers, and that's you'll see him when they're making plays. You don't catch I think he's got 700 yards in this conference because you're no good.
I talked to Coach Miller this morning. It's always good to have Coach Miller here. I'm not in the program, but from what I see, he's doing a fantastic job coaching the O-line and being the associate head coach.
Don't tell him that, though.
Yeah, I don't want his head to get too big. But he comes in the office, he knocks on the door, and he says, Casey, I want to warn you, the visiting radio setup there is a little different. You're outside with a cover over your head. I said, no problem. And he did tell me a little bit about Jarrett Smith, who right now you said is leading the league in receiving yards and receiving touchdowns. He says the best wide receiver he's ever seen play at this level.
Yes, and here's the thing. He led all receivers in the state of Texas with, yardage of returning players. I mean, he's a great player, strong, physical. competes, and we got our work cut out for him. Because he's caught passes against everybody, and he's made people miss. He's a fine football player.
Well, you go to that loss they had, or they get whipped by Midwestern State. Smith still has 150 receiving yards, I think.
Yeah, and he took it to their DBs too. So our guys have got to, we've got our work cut out in that end of it.
Coach, they have a quarterback more than capable of throwing the ball in Matthew McHugh. He's third in the conference, 263 passing yards per game, 14 touchdowns. Will their game plan be? Because it seems like on paper, Coach, I hate to be negative, about the only strength they have is the passing game and passing defense. You think they're going to try to air the ball out to?
They're going to have to. They'll have to. They've struggled in the run game. They've had some injuries on the offensive line. And that's the strength of their football team, and the quarterback, he can also run. He played wide receiver a year ago, and he can just get it to number one. And then the other guys, they catch the ball too, and he does a good job of getting outside the pocket. When you blitz him, he can get yards on the ground. That's where most of their rushing yards are. And they have two really good backs that they get in the pass. They're third on the team in receiving, that they get out and get them the ball, and they make a lot of plays in space.
They're allowing a league worst 45 points and 251 rushing yards per contest. Does that really play into your hand the way this offense is performing right now, or should it?
It should, and you like your change. The thing that happens is they haven't been able to run the football, and when you're not running the football, you're one-dimensional. And then you give the other offenses more opportunities. It's incomplete pass. The clock is stopping, and that's why their time of possession is lopsided a little bit. And they're just giving the other offenses more snaps, and people are executing.
You have to watch those stats though, because every week we look at a stat. Like last week, we say you can't run the ball against Eastern. You run the ball against Eastern. A stat's just a stat. Anything can happen.
It is. You got what we believe defensively and offensively is this. We're going to attack their strength. A lot of people look for their weaknesses. If you attack their strength, and then you can have success. Because if what you do good and you take that away, you got a lot of adjustments. And we look to try to attack people's strength. And we're not into stats. We're into wins. But that's the way that you win the football games, is attack people's strengths.
I'll throw some more stats at you. You should have an advantage in the kicking game. Blake Barnes, 38 for 51 in his career, 8 for 11 this year. This year, kicking field goals, McMurray is 0 for 5. So that should be a strength.
Yeah, Coach Miller did tell me that. He said, I haven't seen a kicker that can kick field goals in a long time. Every time we kicked it, I closed my eyes there. So,
well, they'll be close. If that kicker has to kick this weekend, they'll be closing their eyes again. Coach, Tarleton has not faced McMurray, something we talked about in our staff meeting this morning. They haven't faced McMurray since being a member of the TIAA back in 1990. Have you ever coached a game against McMurray or at Wilford Moore Stadium?
Never been there.
New territory.
If you go in Coach Coper's office, Coach Miller has drawn a diagram, so we know where everything is. So we're prepared.
Yeah, I don't think anybody knows that facility better than Coach Miller.
They built it.
He's like, outside the restroom, there's a water fountain. Don't hit it with your left foot.
Yeah.
And in your press box, you're going to see a roll of duct tape in the back. You can use it. I'm like, thanks.
Use it to tape your paper down. Bring you a couple of rocks.
But staying with Coach Miller, he's the head coach there last year. Is it an advantage, though, with all the changes that have had there? I mean, is there any insight that he can get you with a new head coach and a lot of turnover?
There is. The thing that really works, and God always does, puts you in situations, is he was there with those guys, and then all of a sudden he becomes a head coach, and moving Division II, the excitement, and then at the end of January you're recruiting. They just pulled the rug out from me, and he had no warning of that. That's tough. I mean, I can't even imagine going through that. But it's those kids that were there, and he stayed loyal to those guys. We're taking him back there, and it's going to be senior night. It's their last home game, and he'll get to see those seniors that he was there and be on the same field, that he had a lot of great memories with those guys, and that'll be a special moment for him and those players.
So it's the Tarleton Texans and the Warhawks of McMurray University. The National Farm Live pregame show will begin at 1:30 p.m. on Saturday with the Coach Kerry Fowler pregame interview, starting lineups, analysis, and much more. The kickoff at 2 o'clock from Abilene. It's a short drive. We might have just as many Tarleton fans there as McMurray fans. At least it's a goal.
It's a goal. You get up that morning and roll over there.
It's an easy trip. Boy, after you're in Portales, I mean, I went to bed at 6 a.m., and I know that you're going to say, Casey, don't even tell me. I woke up at 6 a.m., woke up at noon. It's like after that, this is easy.
It is.
We might walk there.
I tell you what, our bus driver, he just rolls now. I mean,
I passed you.
Brian drives Coach Reisman too, and when he's behind that wheel, he lets it go, and I feel comfortable with him riding.
The kickoff at 2 o'clock. If you can't make it to Abilene, you can listen to the broadcast on the Tarleton Sports Network flagship station, KTRL 90.5 FM in Stephenville, Fort Worth, and Granbury, or on the World Wide Web at tarletonsports.com/listen live. Texan volleyball folks, give them a hand. 17-5. What a job they're doing. I believe, if my memory serves me right, the fourth time under Mary Schindler they've won 17 games. Before Coach Schindler got there in a lot of years, I don't know how many, 30 or 40, they had 5 winning seasons before her, and now she's won 17 games 4 times. They're third place in the Lone Star Conference with an 8-4 record. And when you look at those kind of numbers, you start talking about regional rankings, and that's important. This is a program that's never been to the tournament.
Yeah, and you get excited, but you got to get your kids not to look at those. You got to keep them looking at the next one, and that's tough too.
The Texans sweep Midwestern State on Friday night. They sweep Cameron on Saturday. The Texans on a 3-game winning streak, and they're going to return home tomorrow to face St. Edwards at 7 o'clock from Wisdom Gymnasium. So make sure you get out. I know the football team, you go there, and the football players are there in the stands every game.
Yeah.
And that's important. The exhibition game between Tarleton and TCU set for Friday, November 7th has officially been changed, and that game will now be played on November 6th, a Thursday night in Fort Worth. And that game between the Horned Frogs and Texans will take place at Wilkerson Grimes Athletic Center. It will not take place at Daniel Meyer. That is a big change. Wilkerson and Grimes at 7 o'clock on Thursday, November 6th. Then the Texans in basketball play Baylor Monday night, November 10th in Waco at 7 o'clock. We'll have both of those games right here on the Tarleton Sports Network. Want to give away some more door prizes to our live audience. We've got 4 prizes to give away. We've got 2 Tarleton athletic shirts. We have 2 Tarleton Parents Association gift baskets. Sarah Hallmark. Sarah, come on down wherever you are. Give Sarah a hand. Dale Johnson. Dale comes to about every show. Dale, you're a winner. You're a winner. Dale's like, I won. Dale, we've got Sarah. We got Chris Patton. Chris works here at the Lookout Bar and Grill. Thanks to Chris. He does a great job. And I don't know who C.D. Jones is, but I'd sure like to find out who he is. Because this guy, I want to take him to Shreveport. He
wins every week.
He wins every week in this. So CD, Chris, Dale, and Sarah, thank you, and thanks to our entire live audience here at Legends Country Club. What's that? Volleyball's at 6, so forgive me. Volleyball's at 6 tomorrow night. Could have sworn I looked at the schedule and it said 7, but yes, even Casey Hogan makes mistakes. There's a lot of people listening going, he makes a lot of mistakes. But volleyball at 6 o'clock tomorrow night against St. Edwards. Make sure you visit tarletonsports.com to stay up to date on the Texans. Listen to the radio broadcast, watch live webcasts for free, and much more. Once again, we want to thank Texas Bank and Cross Timber Orthopedics, our 2 sponsors of the Coach Gary Fowler radio show. Thanks to Legends Country Club for hosting the show each week. Thanks to the staff here at the Lookout Bar and Grill. I want to thank Chris Reisman, the Associate Men's Basketball Coach, for joining us today. And I want to thank Woods Furniture for providing Coach and I's table and chair set. Thanks to Tyrone Dotsie back at the KTRL studio. Great job producing this show today, Tyrone. And most importantly, I want to thank each and every one of you for listening and for your support of Tarleton Athletics. Coach, final question. I know in this league you can never overlook a team, and I know every game's tough, but isn't this a McMurray team, frankly, that you should beat on Saturday?
On paper, yes. What I'm telling I started it last week, and I started telling our kids, to get their confidence up, even coming out of Kingsville, is you got to believe in what you've done. And I took them all the way back to October 15th, 2011. We sit at 1-5, and most of my seniors were there with us. We were 1-5. We'd won 3 games the year before. We're 3-8, and since that date in the Lone Star Conference, after the win Saturday, we're 17-6. That's the best record in the Lone Star Conference. And October the 15th, 2011, we're 17-6, and there's only 2 other teams that have winning records in the Lone Star Conference over that period. And we're playing at a high level. Believe you're that good. Carry yourself as a person. Live that way. Practice that way. Prepare like a champion, because you are supreme in the conference, and carry yourself that way. And I'll be telling the same message throughout the season, that believe that. You are the best in the league, and you've proved it over a period of time. Continue to do those same things, because confidence is hard work, and as long as we're working hard, we got the confidence. I feel like we can do some things.
If Bill Parcells were around, he might put little mouse traps up in the locker room, because when you start talking about games you should win, that's when sometimes you have a letdown.
And where I talk about is just confidence, hard work. If you work hard every week, what you put in the bank Monday through Friday is a direct reflection on how you play on Saturday. Work hard Monday through Friday, and great things will happen to you on Saturday.
Coach, thanks for your time. Look forward to talking to you on the field in Abilene on Saturday after another big win.
Yeah, thanks, Casey. I appreciate it.
That'll do it for the 7th edition of the Coach Kerry Fowler Radio Show. Make sure you tune in at 1:30 p.m. on Saturday as your Tarleton Texans take on the Warhawks of McMurray University. For the head football coach of the Tarleton Texans, I'm Casey Hogan saying so long, everyone, from Legends Country Club in Stephenville. Until next time, have a great week, and we'll talk to you on Saturday afternoon from Abilene, Texas.
End zone, it is Desmond Jackson.
Picking it up, Carter. 3-on-1 for Tarleton. Dobstra, Lee, Carter, right-handed slam. That's going to do it. The Tarleton Texans are back on the throne of the Lone Star Conference Tournament. This is the Tarleton Sports Network.